After inheriting Sudaji's true teachings, I became the supreme nine-tailed fox king. But eating a clan elixir by mistake drained all my power. To save my life and restore my cultivation, I transformed into a mortal and joined the palace. I have been married to Emperor Xiaoquan for 3 years. We treat each other with the utmost respect. But he always feels I am too formal. He feels an invisible veil between us. Until one day, Xiaoquan finished his court affairs early. He wanted to surprise me. But behind the rockery in the imperial garden, he saw a sight he would never forget. I was crouching on the ground, whispering softly to a pure white fox. The next second, 9 fluffy, snow-white fox tails popped out behind me. He stood behind the rockery, feeling his worldview was utterly shattered. My empress is a demon, and a legendary 9-tailed fox that brings ruin. Meanwhile, I was still scolding the little white fox. Those 9 big tails were fluffy, glowing with a golden light in the sunset. They looked like they would feel so good to touch. What am I thinking? I am the emperor, the true dragon. A demon has appeared in the harem. I should immediately summon the national master. Set up an inescapable net to capture it. But he saw my gentle and dignified face. Even when scolding a fox, my eyes held a familiar tenderness. I get angry over workers' stolen winter clothes. I personally visit sick maids in the infirmary. When he reviews memorials late into the night, I silently bring him a warm bowl of lotus seed soup. Could such a gentle person be a ruinous demon? His heart was completely in chaos. Enough, enough. Hurry back. The emperor will be here soon. I reluctantly patted the little white fox's head. The 9 tails vanished the moment I turned. I became the dignified and proper mother of the nation, Empress Lu Ruyan. But Xiaoquan's heart was pounding like a drum. Before I could notice, he had silently returned to the hall of mental cultivation. After gulping down 3 cups of cold tea, he barely calmed the storm in his heart. The chief eunuch Zhao Gao saw his strange expression. He asked cautiously, "Your Majesty, is there something troubling you in court?" He waved his hand, rubbing his temples. His mind was full of those 9 fluffy tails. That evening, under the pretext of dining with the empress, he stepped into Cunning Palace. Seeing him, a flash of surprise lit up my eyes. "Your humble consort greets your majesty." "Rise, my queen." He helped me up, but his eyes involuntarily glanced behind me. But aside from my gorgeous palace dress, there was nothing. He seemed a bit disappointed. The evening meal was served. All were exquisite dishes. Usually, I ate with extreme elegance. No talking while eating or sleeping. A perfect example of royalty. But today, Xiaoquan decided to be mischievous. He personally picked up a piece of roast chicken and placed it in my bowl. "My queen works hard day and night. Eat more." I was flattered. I quickly thanked him. Based on Xiaoquan's limited knowledge of folklore, foxes lop to eat chicken. After eating that piece of roast chicken, my eyes brightened noticeably. But I still maintained my reserve. I didn't touch the roast chicken again. But he added a large drumstick to my bowl. "If my queen likes it, eat more. Don't be restrained." At that moment, my cheeks were already flushed. But I still couldn't resist the temptation. I ate it again. This time, he clearly saw behind my ears. 2 small tufts of white fluff had popped out. After dinner, I brewed tea for him as usual. He suddenly spoke, "Ruyan, today, I saw an ancient book in the study. It said the ancient divine beast, the 9-tailed fox, its blood can cure all poisons. Its fur is impenetrable, and it brings good fortune. I wonder if it's true or false." Hearing this, the teacup in my hand fell, shattering into pieces. "Your Majesty, why do you suddenly ask this?" Xiaoquan looked at my terrified expression. He seemed a bit reluctant. He came over and held my cold hand. "I was just asking casually. Look how scared you are. Did you burn yourself?" I quickly lowered my head. "Your humble consort was rude. Please punish me." "It's nothing. I just think, if such a divine beast truly exists in this world, to gain its blessing would be a great fortune for the nation." I lowered my head, and after a long time, said in a tiny voice, "Ancient legends are mostly exaggerated. They can't be trusted." "Is that so?" "I think it's better to believe than not." That night, Xiaoquan stayed in Cunning Palace. In the middle of the night, he pretended to be asleep. He quietly opened one eye. I was also tossing and turning, unable to sleep. After a while, thinking he was fast asleep, I carefully lifted the blanket and sat up. I let out a soft sigh. Then those 9 big fluffy tails popped out from behind me again, like a huge blooming dandelion, covering half the bed. I felt a bit hot, so I used one of the tails, like a fan, to fan myself. The 9 tails unconsciously patted the bed gently. One of them accidentally hit Xiaoquan's face. Soft, fluffy, with a faint, pleasant fragrance. I was startled by my own tail. I quickly retracted it, and even patted it, like scolding a naughty child. I glanced at him again. Seeing he was sound asleep, I relaxed. But those 9 tails, I forgot to retract them. They just lay casually under the blanket. One of them naturally draped over his waist. That night, Xiaoquan slept especially soundly. From that day on, his observation of me entered a new phase. For example, the imperial cat, spoiled by the late emperor. Who even dared to scratch him? Was as docile as a quail in front of me. That day, he and I were walking in the garden. The cat swaggered towards us. He was about to warn me to be careful, but I just gave the cat a casual glance. The cat's fur instantly stood on end. Its arrogant catwalk from a second ago immediately turned into a crawl. Finally, it prostrated itself on the ground. Behind him, Zhao Gao's eyes nearly popped out, but she was very calm. To the shocked Zhao Gao, she said, "It seems the empress is deeply loved by the general." I smiled modestly. Perhaps I have a scent he likes. Maybe he was thinking, "Det, the smell of fox." No wonder the cat's legs went weak. Another time, a banquet was held in the palace. Foreign envoys presented a tribute of grapes. The grapes were crystal clear and looked sweet. I sat beside him, staring intently at the plate of grapes. My throat moved almost imperceptibly. He understood. Foxes lop grapes. He signaled the maid to bring the whole plate to me. My eyes lit up. But I still tried to control myself. I only gracefully picked one and took a small bite. He watched me, wanting to eat but not daring to eat more. He found it extremely amusing. Halfway through the banquet, he excused himself and hid in the shadows to observe. I, taking advantage of everyone's inattention, quickly stuffed several bunches of grapes into my wide sleeves. He almost burst out laughing. His own empress was so adorable in private. After the banquet, he returned to his bedchamber, pretending to be surprised. "Why is my queen's sleeve so bulging?" "Your humble consort found the embroidery pattern novel. I stuffed in some extra cotton padding to make it stand out more." He held back a smile and stepped forward, gently lifting my sleeve. He shook out a bunch of crystal clear purple grapes. "So, this is the cotton that looks like grapes." He picked one up and put it in his mouth. It tastes quite sweet." At that moment, I looked like I was about to cry, wishing I could find a hole to crawl into. This made Xiao Quan's heart soften instantly. "Alright, I won't tease you anymore. Eat if you want. You are the empress. Everything under heaven is yours. Why sneak around?" I leaned into his arms, my body trembling slightly. Your humble consort was rude. Days passed like this, with his keen observation and my constant slips. He even discovered that I had secretly opened a demon tea party in the backyard of Cunning Palace. Participants included a century-old carp spirit from the imperial kitchen pond. It took the form of a chubby, fair-skinned youth. Also, a weasel spirit from the library. It took the form of a shifty-eyed scholar. It was boasting about its great achievements. There was even an ancient locust tree of unknown age. Its spirit form was a venerable old man. He was slowly sharing palace gossip. Xiao Quan hid in the corner, listening with great interest. "So, the founding emperor once broke his leg climbing a tree for bird eggs." Such explosive royal secrets were never written in history books. I, as the big sister, listened to everyone's reports, occasionally offering comments. "Little Li, about your fish pond matter. I'll speak to the imperial kitchen. Have them change to better ones. Huang Xianer, what's so good about ink? Next time, I'll have the kitchen save you a roast chicken." "Grandpa, you're still strong. You must keep an eye on these younger ones in the palace." He watched me giving orders, finding it had a unique charm. But the peaceful days didn't last long. National Master Xian Lingzi, an old Taoist priest dedicated to slaying demons, had been telling Xiao Quan that he observed the stars and found a strong demonic aura in the palace, foretelling disaster. But Xiao Quan always fobbed him off with, "You worry too much, it's an auspicious sign." Xian Lingzi, however, was stubborn. Once he set his mind on something, not even 9 oxen could pull him back. One morning at court, he came straight up with a compass. In front of all the civil and military officials, he declared loudly, "Your Majesty, I spent 10 years of my cultivation yesterday and finally calculated the demon's location. It is in the harem. Please issue a decree. Allow me to set up an altar and perform a ritual. I will surely force the demon to reveal its true form." To clarify the truth, the court erupted. Officials whispered among themselves. Everyone was on edge. His face darkened. He looked down at Xian Lingzi from his throne. A flicker of murderous intent passed through his heart. But he couldn't do it. Xian Lingzi had a high reputation among the people and was the late emperor's personally appointed guardian mage. Killing him without cause would cause court unrest. After a moment's thought, he spoke slowly. "National Master speaks with such certainty. You must be fully confident. If so, I approve. But if this demon is truly in the palace, it must be extremely cunning. What preparations do you need for the ritual? Speak freely. I will have the Imperial Guards fully cooperate. You must ensure everything is foolproof." Xian Lingzi was overjoyed and quickly kowtowed. "Your Majesty is wise. I need cinnabar, a peachwood sword, and rooster blood." Xiao Quan nodded. He gave a meaningful look to Zhao Gao beside him. "Zhao Gao, you handle this personally. Make sure to prepare the best for the National Master. Remember, the best." He emphasized the word best. Zhao Gao, having served him for years, understood immediately and bowed to accept the order. "This servant obeys." Xianlingzi, however, noticed nothing. He thought Xiao Quan trusted him completely. He withdrew with a smug look on his face. After court, Xiao Quan watched Xianlingzi's retreating figure. A cold smile curled on his lips. 3 days later, a tall altar was erected outside Cunning Palace. Xianlingzi, wearing a Bagua Taoist robe, holding a horsetail whisk, looked lion immortal. He actually had a bit of a master's air. Behind him, Zhao Gao led a group of young eunuchs, respectfully holding various ritual instruments. Xiao Quan and I sat side by side in a nearby pavilion, watching the ceremony. But my face was pale. My palms were covered in cold sweat. Seeing this, Xiao Quan took my hand and whispered, "Ruyan, don't be nervous. It's just the national masters. It's just the national masters gesture. Just watch." His hand was very warm. It seemed to carry a calming power. My emotions calmed down a bit, but my brows were still furrowed. On the altar, Xianlingzi began his performance. First, he burned a yellow talisman, muttering incantations. According to the procedure, the ashes of the burned talisman should point towards the strongest demonic aura, but the ashes swirled in the air for a long time. Finally, with a puff, they all stuck to Xianlingzi's own face. The entire venue was silent. Zhao Gao held back a laugh. He quickly handed him a towel. "National Master, are you alright? Perhaps the wind is strong today." Xianlingzi wiped his face awkwardly, forcing an explanation. "It's nothing. This is an illusion. The demon is confusing the heavens." Saying this, he picked up the peachwood sword, said to be made from a 1,000-year-old lightning-struck tree, and began walking a ritualistic pace on the altar. He lifted a talisman with the sword's tip, drawing in the air. According to the procedure, the peachwood sword should emit a golden light. The talisman should self-ignite. But Xianlingzi danced around for a long time. The sword was still just a sword. The talisman still just a talisman. Not to mention a golden light. There wasn't even a spark. He tried several more times, sweating profusely. The talisman just wouldn't catch fire. The talisman just wouldn't catch fire. The officials below began to whisper, "Is this national master even capable?" Xianlingzi's face turned bright red. Gritting his teeth, he picked up a bowl of century-old rooster blood, took a big gulp, and then sprayed it onto the talisman. This time, the talisman got wet, but it still didn't burn. Instead, Xianlingzi seemed to choke on something, and started coughing violently. Coughing and shouting, "Give me water." Zhao Gao immediately handed him water. With an innocent look, he said, "National Master, this is the century-old rooster blood you personally inspected. I specially found the oldest rooster in the palace. The smell is a bit strong. Please bear with it." That Zhao Gao was truly a character. Xiao Quan told him to prepare the best, and he certainly didn't disappoint. The cinnabar was made from red flour mixed with chili powder. The peachwood sword was cut from the imperial garden. An ordinary peach branch coated with tung oil. As for the century-old rooster blood, it was actually red paint mixed with a lot of chili oil. Xianlingzi was crying from the spiciness. He had none of his immortal air left. Seeing all his top-grade ritual tools fail, he was completely dumbfounded. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. How could my spells fail? Seeing this demon-catching event turn into a farce, Xiao Quan felt it was time for him to step in. He slowly stood up. "National Master, you have worked hard." Everyone's attention focused on him. He walked to the altar, looking at the disheveled Xianlingzi. "National Master, don't worry. I just saw a strange phenomenon in the sky, a myriad of rays of light. It seems it's not a demon in the palace, but a heavenly auspicious sign. Heaven is grateful for our nation's peace and prosperity, and has sent this sign. We must not disturb its purity." But the sky was clear, without a single tsao. Xianlingzi was stunned. He looked up at the sky, then at him, completely bewildered. Xiao Quan, however, remained unflappable. "National Master, your Taoist skills are profound. What you sensed must be this auspicious energy." But the auspicious energy was so vast that it temporarily overwhelmed your instruments. "This is not your fault. On the contrary, it proves your deep cultivation." He spoke with such sincerity and conviction. Even Xianlingzi was completely confused by him. Xianlingzi suddenly saw the light. He immediately bowed. "Your Majesty is wise. I was foolish. So this is a heavenly auspicious sign. I nearly offended the gods. My sin, my sin." All the civil and military officials also chimed in. "So it's an auspicious sign. Your Majesty is truly favored by heaven. Even heaven sends down auspicious signs." A demon-catching farce, under Xiao Quan's forced explanation, was turned into a grand celebration of praise for the emperor. He looked at all this with satisfaction, then turned to look at me. And I was looking at him with an extremely complex expression. That look was full of SOC and confusion, but also a hint of indescribable warmth. After the storm subsided, Shao Quan, claiming the national master had merit for sensing the auspicious sign, rewarded him with a large amount of gold, silver, and jewels, then ordered him to go into seclusion to consolidate his realm. For at least a year and a half, he was not to leave seclusion. That evening, he came to my palace again. After dismissing the attendants, only he and I remained in the bedchamber. I lowered my head to brew tea for him. For today's matter. Thank you, your majesty, for rescuing your humble consort. Shao Quan picked up the teacup and said calmly, Ruyan, you are my wife. Isn't it only right for me to protect you? I looked up sharply, my eyes glistening with tears. He put down the teacup and walked over to me. He reached out and gently brushed behind my ear. There, 2 small white tufts of fur had quietly popped out without my control. Soft, ticklish. My body stiffened. I was completely frozen. His fingers lingered behind my ear for a moment, then slowly slid down, resting on my lower back. Can I touch them? My body tensed up like a stone. Your Majesty, what are you saying? I was almost falling apart. Seeing my shy, flustered, and helpless state, that mischievous streak in his heart rose again. Instead of withdrawing his hand, he gently patted my lower back. Can I touch your tail? I felt as if struck by lightning. I staggered back 2 steps, staring at him in terror. He looked at me leisurely, a hint of a smile on his lips. Little fox, if I don't give you a SOC, were you really going to pretend with me forever? I pointed at him, but couldn't utter a single word. The next second, perhaps due to overwhelming emotion, with a loud bang behind me, those 9 long-cherished big tails, uncontrollably all popped out. White, fluffy, huge, instantly filling all the space behind me. Some of them, because of my unstable emotions, were standing up nervously, like a scared cat's tail fluffing up. Shao Quan's eyes went wide instantly. During the day in the garden, it was just a fleeting glance. Later in bed, it was feeling them through the blanket. Now, these 9 legendary tails were displayed before him without any cover, more beautiful and more stunning than he had imagined. I clearly hadn't expected this. I looked down and let out a short, sharp cry. I quickly tried to retract my tails, but the more flustered I got, the more chaotic it became. The 9 tails seemed to have a mind of their own, flailing wildly in the air. Retract, quickly. I was almost in tears, frantically trying to grab my own tails. The scene was like a person fighting with their 9 naughty children, chaotic and funny. He finally couldn't help but burst out laughing. That laugh stopped my movements. I stared at him blankly, my face full of grievance and despair. You knew all along and you're still laughing at me. He put away his smile, sighed, and stepped forward. I instinctively stepped back, my eyes full of vigilance and unease. What awaited me might be the National Master's peachwood sword and a cold prison. And Shao Quan now stood before me. He reached out his hand. Gently, cautiously, he touched the tip of the nearest tail. That touch was smoother than the finest brocade, softer than the warmest winter fox fur. His heart, at that moment, seemed filled with an indescribable sense of satisfaction. Finally, he touched it, and I trembled all over, as if struck by an electric current. I could feel a warm sensation coming from the tip of my tail. That was the Emperor's warmth. I didn't dodge. I just stood there dumbly, letting his hand slowly stroke upward from the tip of my tail. She just stood there frozen in place, letting his hand slowly stroke from the tip of her tail upward. Shao Quan could feel my body slowly relaxing. It's beautiful, even more beautiful than I imagined. This isn't a compliment. It's her true words. My eyes grew redder. Tears as big as beans rolled down without warning, not because of fear, but because of grievance and unease, and a hint of being moved by acceptance. Aren't you afraid of me? I'm a demon. Afraid? I am the son of heaven. I own the 4 seas. All things under heaven are my subjects. You are my queen. Whether you're human or demon, that will never change. His hand gently wrapped around one of my tails, feeling the fluffy texture. Besides, my queen is so adorable. I'd lop you too much. How could I be afraid? My body softened, leaning against his chest. The long-suppressed cries finally burst out. She held me and let me cry. His hands were very unruly. He touched each of the other 8 tails in turn. I looked at him with red eyes, whispered, Your Majesty, when did you find out? When you were lecturing that little white fox. The roast chicken, grapes, and National Master were all my doing. I opened my mouth, unable to speak for a long time. For 3 years, I'd been like a jumping clown, and the only audience was this emperor holding back his laughter. I glared at him angrily. Even my tails behind me swung hard. It hit him right in the face. He was stunned. I was stunned too, looking at my offending tail, then looking at him. Scared, I quickly retracted all my tails. Your humble consort didn't mean it. Xiaoquan touched his face, not angry at all. Instead, he laughed even more happily. He took my hand and pulled me into his arms. I have obtained a queen. Finally willing to throw a tantrum with me. After the identity was fully revealed, Xiaoquan and my relationship entered a new phase. I no longer deliberately disguised my nature, though I was still the dignified queen in public. In front of him, I became more and more fry. For example, I'd openly hold a plate of roast chicken, gnawing it with oil all over my mouth, then look at him eagerly. Let him wipe my mouth. For example, when reviewing memorials, I'd let out all 9 tails, spread them on his dragon throne, making it the most luxurious and warmest furry cushion, and his back pain actually got better. Another example, I'd drag him to a demon tea party. When he first practiced as a family member, he scared those little demons badly. The well demon fell back into its original form with a splash, hiding in the water vat, blowing bubbles. The weasel demon zipped into a crack in the ground, only a small head poking out, trembling. Only the old locust tree demon remained calm, tremblingly bowed to him. Old man pays respects to your majesty. I put my hands on my hips. What's there to fear? This is my husband, one of us. Although the term husband was very pleasing, the scene of one of us still made him a bit amused and exasperated. Under my training, Xiaoquan quickly got along with these non-human palace residents. He learned that the imperial kitchen's ingredient procurement had issues. The next day, he reprimanded the head of the inner affairs. He learned that several rare books from the previous dynasty in the library had been damaged. Immediately ordered the Hanlin Academy to repair them. He even heard from the old locust tree demon more gossip about the ancestors, adding much fun to his reign as emperor. But in the court, he remained the majestic monarch. Back in the harem, he was a het pie, decadent ruler surrounded by fluffy tails. He even developed new uses for the tails. For example, when summer was too hot, he'd have me fan him with my tails. Pure natural wind, adjustable. When winter was too cold, he'd wrap me in all 9 tails into the quilt. Truly the world's best heater for reviewing memorials. When tired, he'd grab a tail as a pillow to squeeze. Great feel, perfect for she-tret relief. Though I complained, Your Majesty is really unrestrained. My body was very honest. Each time, I immediately offered my tails. But such hep pie and peaceful days were eventually broken. An urgent report came from the northern border. The neighboring country, Northern Yen, suddenly invaded in force. Northern Yen had always been a barbaric land, though strong in soldiers and horses. Not very smart. In previous years, there were small-scale harassments, but never such a large-scale invasion. But this time, the situation was completely different. On the border general's 800 Li urgent report, written in blood-red characters, the enemy has a demonic Taoist aiding them. Can summon wind and rain. Sprinkle beans to form soldiers. Our soldiers and generals are heavily casualties. 3 cities have been lost. In danger, at the morning court. The ministers were agitated. The war faction spoke passionately, requesting reinforcements to the northern border, vowing to fight Northern Yen to the death. The peace faction was worried, believing demonic arts were beyond mortal power, should avoid the edge and wait for reinforcements. Xiaoquan looked at the quarreling civil and military officials below. His heart was cold. Then, the Minister of War stepped forward, passionately. Your Majesty, I am willing to lead 100,000 troops north to fight. Even if I die wrapped in horsehide, I will never let the Northern Yen barbarians step half a step into our heartland. Minister Zhang, your loyalty is commendable, but that demonic Taoist's arts are unpredictable, not something mere numbers can counter. In my humble opinion, better to send an envoy to negotiate peace, to probe the enemy's strength. Peace? Chancellor, do you want our dynasty to surrender without a fight? Xiaoquan was irritated. He slapped the dragon throne. Enough. The hall instantly fell silent. He rubbed his brow. A face appeared in his mind. Xianlingzi, though his last demon catching was a farce, he was still the national master. Against such evil arts, maybe he had a way. He immediately ordered a decree. Invite national master Xianlingzi out of seclusion to discuss state affairs. Xianlingzi, who had been forced into seclusion for half a year, was finally released. He seemed a bit thinner, but more spirited. When he saw him, he still looked lion immortal, with an inscrutable demeanor. Xiaoquan showed him the Northern War report. Xianlingzi read it, stroking his beard. Frowning, summon wind and rain. Sprinkle beans to form soldiers. These are heretical arts. Though they have form, they lack essence. Nothing to fear. National Master, what strategy do you have? Xianlingzi smiled proudly. Your Majesty, rest assured, I have cultivated for centuries. I specialize in countering such evil. That mere Northern Yen demonic Taoist. Let me go personally. I will make him vanish into thin air. He spoke with full confidence, raising a glimmer of hope among the court ministers. Xiaoquan immediately decided. Appoint National Master as the demon-subduing Grand Marshal. Grant him the Imperial Sword to oversee all matters of the Northern Yen campaign. Full support from the National Treasury. Xianlingzi was overjoyed. He packed his bags that very day. with his disciples and followers, marched grandly to the northern front. Watching his departing figure, Xiaoquan felt a lingering unease. Back in the harem, I had been waiting for a long time. Your Majesty, that Northern Yen demonic Taoist is probably not simple. He nodded. I know, but Xianlingzi is our dynasty's only hope. I bit my lip and walked behind him, extended my 9 tails, gently wrapped around him. The fluffy touch, with my unique fragrance, calmed his restless heart a bit. No matter what happens, your humble consort will always be with your Majesty. He held my hand, warmth in his heart. But his premonition soon came true. Half a month later, from the northern border came not a victory report, but a distress letter from Xianlingzi. In the letter, Xianlingzi's handwriting was messy, full of terror. He said that Northern Yen demonic Taoist, Wuxin, had unimaginably powerful magic. All his spells were like child's play before him. Most of his disciples were dead or wounded. He himself was severely injured, trapped in Yanmen Pass, in danger day and night. With the letter came Xianlingzi's broken fly whisk, snapped in two, and his tattered 8 trigrams Taoist robe, burned and torn. The court was shaken. Even the national master was no match. Who exactly was this Northern Yen demonic Taoist? For a time, panic spread. The peace faction's voice dominated again. Some even proposed ceding 3 cities, to seek peace with Northern Yen. He threw that memorial to the ground hard. Ceding land for peace? Utter humiliation. Not an inch of our land can be given up. But if not peace, what can we do? Are we really going to watch Yanmen Pass be breached by Northern Yan's iron cavalry? Those days, Xiaoquan couldn't eat or sleep. Worry turned several of his hairs white. I silently stayed by his side, no longer using my tails to cheer him up, just quietly refilling his tea and grinding ink. Finally, late one night, when he was again pacing in the study, agitated by war reports. Pacing in the study, agitated. I grabbed his sleeve. Your Majesty, let your humble consort go. What did you say? I took a deep breath. Let your humble consort go to the northern border. Perhaps I can deal with that demonic Taoist. No, absolutely not. Ruyan, don't be foolish. The battlefield is no joke. Swords and arrows are blind. Your Majesty, I am not being foolish. I interrupted him, my eyes blazing with an undeniable force. Have you forgotten who I am? I am a 9-tailed fox, the ancient divine beast, Lord of Qingxiu. But in his heart, I was first his wife, the person he would protect for life. That's still not allowed. You are the queen. Your duty is to be the mother of the nation, not to fight on the battlefield. But if the nation falls, what is the world? What meaning does the queen's position have? He was speechless. Seeing this, I took his hand. Your Majesty, I know you worry about me, but that demonic Taoist easily defeated Xianlingzi. He's no ordinary cultivator. Mortal armies are useless against him. If this continues, our dynasty is in danger. I am a 9-tailed fox, cultivated for 1,000 years. Not a weak woman without strength. Dealing with demonic Taoists is our specialty. Let me go. At least I have a fighting chance. A fighting chance. If I also fail, then it's fate. My words struck his heart. Reason told him I was right. This was the only way, the last hope. But emotionally, he couldn't accept it. After a long time, he closed his eyes, let out a long sigh. How sure are you? 100%. In the end, he agreed. But he insisted on going with me. Naturally, I disagreed. But this time, he was firm. You are my queen. I am your husband. Husband and wife are one. There's no way I'll let you face danger alone, while I sit safely in the rear. Either we go together, or no one goes. I couldn't argue with him, so I had to agree. Xiaoquan immediately issued a decree, under the pretext of the emperor's personal expedition to boost morale, forming a light cavalry to head to the northern border that very day, to avoid unnecessary panic. My identity was kept strictly secret. To the outside, I was just a female official accompanying him. Before leaving, he summoned Zhao Gao. After I leave the capital, state affairs will be handled by the crown prince, regent, and chancellor. You stay in the palace and take care of this home for me. Zhao Gao knelt on the ground, tears streaming down his old face. Your Majesty, you absolutely cannot. You are of priceless worth. How can you risk yourself? Zhao Gao, this time I go not as an emperor, but as a husband. Do you understand? Zhao Gao was stunned. He looked at me, not far behind him, dressed in battle gear, radiant and heroic, seeming to understand. He kowtowed heavily. Your servant obeys. Your servant wishes your Majesty and her highness a triumphant victory and a swift return. The army set out. Xiaoquan and I rode in the same carriage. Inside, I was meditating with my eyes closed. My 9 tails naturally spread out, filling the entire carriage. One tail even draped over his lap, serving as a blanket for him. He stroked the smooth fur, but his heart was full of worry. Ruyan, do you know that Northern Yen demonic Taoist, Wuxin? My eyes flickered. Then I shook my head. No, but with such power, he can't be unknown. Perhaps some old hermit, He felt I was hiding something from him. 10 days later, we finally arrived at Yanmen Pass. The sight before us made everyone gasp. The once majestic pass was now ruins. The walls were covered with sword and axe marks, and some charred. Huge gaps, as if struck by lightning. The city was desolate. The soldiers looked gaunt. Morale was at rock bottom. Our arrival didn't bring much uplift. Rather, more numbness. Xian Lingzi was helped out to greet him. He had aged at least 20 years, covered in wounds, spiritless, nowhere near the style of the demon-subduing Grand Marshal. Seeing Xiao Quan, he fell to his knees with a thud, wailing loudly, "Your Majesty, I am useless. I deserve death." Xiao Quan helped him up. "Where exactly did that demonic Taoist come from? He's not human. He's a complete monster. His demonic arts are too evil." Just then, a wildly arrogant laugh came from outside the city. "Oh, looks like a big shot has arrived." "What? Xianlingzi can't beat the old one, so he called an even older one to die?" Everyone's faces changed. "It's him! The Northern Yen demonic Taoist, Wuxin." Xiao Quan and I climbed the city wall. Before the dark mass of Northern Yen troops, a man in a black robe hovered in the air. His face was handsome but with a sinister air. His eyes were an eerie blood red. That was Wuxin. Beside him, swirled masses of black mist. In the mist, countless twisted, struggling ghostly figures were faintly visible. "Who comes? State your name." Wuxin looked at us contemptuously. His gaze lingered a moment on Xiao Quan's dragon robe, then fell on me. When he saw me, the smile on his face froze, then twisted into a fanatical grin. "It's you." He stared at me intently, his voice trembling with excitement. "Lord of Qingqiu, Lu Ruyan. I've been looking for you for 300 years. I never thought you'd be hiding here, playing queen to a mortal." My face turned ice cold. "Wuxin, 300 years ago, you betrayed Qingqiu, stole our clan's sacred soul-devouring pearl, murdered fellow disciples. I spared you for your hard cultivation, only crippled half your cultivation, and expelled you from the sect. I never thought you'd remain unrepentant. Instead, you've worsened, causing havoc here." In Xiao Quan's heart, a storm raged. Wuxin was actually Lu Ruyan's junior fellow disciple. Fellow disciple? Lu Ruyan, you're still so high and mighty. What made you worthy of being Lord of Qingqiu back then? In talent, in skill. How am I inferior to you? Just because you're the clan leader's daughter? Just because your bloodline is pure? I stole the soul-devouring pearl to prove to everyone that I, Wuxin, am more fit to be Qingqiu's king than you. Wuxin's eyes were full of jealousy and resentment. I sighed, a hint of pity in my eyes. "Wuxin, you're wrong. Power has never been the only measure of everything. You're obsessed with the soul-devouring pearl's power, already possessed and beyond saving. Enough talk. Today, let's settle this between us. I'll turn you, and this mortal emperor behind you, along with this broken city, into ashes." As he spoke, the black mist behind him exploded, turning into countless clawing, snarling ghosts, surging toward Yanmen Pass. On the city wall, all the soldiers were terrified, stumbling backward. Xian Lingzi even screamed, collapsing to the ground, but Xiao Quan instinctively shielded me behind him. But I pushed him away. Facing the horde of ghosts, step by step, I walked to the front of the city wall. Under everyone's horrified gaze, my 9 snow-white, holy tails shot up into the sky. 9 enormous fox-tails, lie 9 white divine dragons, unfurling in the air. Each tail emitted a soft, holy white light. That light contrasted sharply with Wuxin's evil black mist. All the soldiers on the wall were stunned, their mouths agape, forgetting fear, just staring at the figure like a descending deity. Xian Lingzi murmured, his eyes full of SOC and disbelief. The legendary divine beast. He finally understood why all his spells were useless against me. It wasn't that his spells failed, but that he wasn't worthy to show off before a divine beast. Outside the city, Wuxin was also shaken by this powerful holy aura. The madness on his face faded, replaced by deep wariness. "Impossible. How is your power so much stronger than 300 years ago?" I didn't answer him, just gently raised my hand, pointed a finger at the oncoming horde of ghosts. One of my tails behind me, a long white whip, slashed out, sending a visible white light wave sweeping across. Where the light wave passed, those ferocious ghosts melted like snow, instantly turning into smoke, dispersing without a trace. With one strike, I broke Wuxin's 100 Ghosts Night March. Wuxin's face changed drastically. He formed hand seals, muttering incantations. 9 heavens dark thunder. Hear my command. A black lightning bolt as thick as a bucket tore through the sky, with an aura of destruction, striking down at my head. Your Highness, be careful. The soldiers on the wall cried out in terror. Xiao Quan's heart was in his throat, but I just looked up at the black lightning. my eyes calm and unruffled. Then I extended my second tail, gently curled it upward. That tail, as if alive, instantly expanded, turning into a huge white canopy, covering the entire Yenmen Pass. The black lightning struck the white canopy hard. With a deafening roar, the entire Yenmen Pass shook violently, but the seemingly thin white canopy was indestructible. The power of the black lightning was completely blocked, without harming the city at all. How is that possible? Wu Xin was completely panicked. His two proudest techniques were so easily neutralized by me. Wu Xin, don't you understand yet? Power gained through external means is ultimately illusory. You've long been corrupted by the soul-devouring pearl. Become its slave. Shut up! Shut up! Wu Xin screamed madly, as if making some decision. He suddenly struck his own chest. A pitch-black pearl, radiating an ominous aura, slowly flew out of his mouth. The Qingqiu sacred artifact, the soul-devouring pearl. Lu Ruyan, you forced me to do this. Today, I'll show you the true power of the soul-devouring pearl. I'll use your soul to sacrifice for my supreme path. He spread his arms. His entire body began to merge with that soul-devouring bead. His body twisted and swelled in the black light. Finally, he transformed into a Tenjuntal, three-headed, six-armed demon god. An evil aura more than 10 times stronger than before swept across the entire battlefield. The walls of Yenmen Pass, under this terrifying pressure, began to crack one by one. Lu Ruyan, feel this despair. He swung a weapon formed from black chi at me. A hint of seriousness appeared on my face. This was Wu Xin's final strike, paid for with his life. Your Majesty, step back. I shouted softly. My remaining 7 tails all lit up with brilliant light. 7-colored divine light behind me wove into a huge, mysterious formation. Qingqiu secret art, 7 luminaries demon-slaying formation. I formed hand seals. That massive 7-colored formation rushed forward to meet the demon god's attack. The whole world seemed to be only black and white colliding. A clash between the sacred and the evil. Each impact shook heaven and earth. The scattered energy flattened the surrounding rocks. Xiao Quan gripped the city wall railing tightly. His knuckles turned white from the strain. His gaze was locked on the center of the battlefield. That white figure wrapped in 7-colored divine light. Ruyan, you must win. The demon god's power was violent and domineering. My formation was exquisite and resilient. For a time, we were evenly matched. But Xiao Quan could see. My face was growing paler. Activating such a powerful formation was an immense strain on me. Absolutely immense. And the demon god seemed tireless. It's useless, Lu Ruyan. Before the power of the soul-devouring bead, all your struggles are futile. One of his arms suddenly broke through the formation's defense, turning into a huge black ghost claw, aiming for my heart. At that critical moment, a look of determination flashed in my eyes. I dropped all my defenses, letting that ghost claw come at me. Just as the claw was about to touch me, I gathered all my power into my 9th tail. That tail I had never used, the purest, most sacred white tail. Qingqiu ultimate secret, divine punishment tail. That tail instantly became a colossal white light sword, carrying the supreme divine might to judge all evil. Toward the demon god's heart, the location of the soul-devouring bead, I thrust fiercely. I would use my body to withstand the demon god's blow, then deliver a fatal counterattack. Xiao Quan's eyes nearly split. He let out a heart-wrenching cry, no. At that moment, the black ghost claw pierced my shoulder, spraying a burst of blinding blood, and that white light sword, without a doubt, pierced through the demon god's massive chest, striking the black soul-devouring bead at its center. The demon god let out an extremely shrill scream. Cracks like a spiderweb appeared on the soul-devouring bead. Holy white light burst from the cracks, frantically purifying the evil power within. The demon god's huge body began to shatter piece by piece, turning to ash. His twisted face was full of unwillingness, resentment, jealousy, and a hint of relief. Then his massive body completely collapsed, dispersing between heaven and earth, leaving only a cracked bead, dim and falling from the sky. We won! We won! Your Majesty! Awesome! The city tower erupted in deafening cheers. Soldiers embraced and wept with joy. But Xiao Quan's eyes held no joy of victory, only endless panic, because as the demon god dissipated, my body, like a kite with a broken string, fell from the sky. The white light on me had faded. My 9 tails hung limply. The shocking bloody hole kept gushing blood, staining my clothes red. Ruyan! Xiao Quan, without a second thought, leaped, jumping from the 10-meter-high city tower. He leaped down. He channeled all his inner energy, bounding a few times in the air, and caught my falling body steadily. At that moment, my body was very cold, cold as a block of ice. Your Majesty, I didn't let you down, did I? Don't speak. I'll take you back. I'll have the Imperial doctors save you. You'll be fine, absolutely fine. He held me and ran frantically into the city. It's useless, Your Majesty. The evil chi of the soul-devouring bead has invaded my heart meridian. I won't allow it. I am the son of heaven. I command you not to be hurt. I smiled. A tear slid from the corner of my eye. To marry Your Majesty and become your wife is the greatest happiness of Ruyan's life? Then my hand fell limply. My eyes slowly closed. He held my cold body, and returned to the general's mansion at Yinmen Pass. The accompanying imperial doctors knelt all around, each one ashen-faced and helpless. Useless. All of you are useless. I keep you. Is it for you to say you can't do anything at a time like this? If you can't save the Empress, I'll have all of you buried with her. The doctors were terrified out of their wits. Xianlingzi also walked in. He looked at me on the bed, lifeless, his face full of grief and self-blame. Your Majesty, please accept my condolences. Get out. It's all your fault. If you weren't so incompetent, how could the Empress be so severely injured? Xianlingzi knelt and kowtowed heavily. Your guilty subject deserves death 10,000 times over. Xiaoquan looked at my pale, paper-like face on the bed, his heart filled with endless regret and despair. If only he could have been stronger. If only he had seen through Wuxin's scheme earlier. Then I wouldn't have had to fight for him. Wouldn't have had to suffer like this. Xiaoquan dismissed everyone, and quietly kept vigil by my bedside alone. He held my cold hand, calling my name over and over. Ruyan, wake up. Look at me. Don't you lop eating roast chicken? I'll have the Imperial Kitchen make it for you every day. Don't you lie my dragon throne? From now on, you can use it as a cushion. I haven't had enough of petting your tails. Please wake up and let me pet them again, Oku. He sobbed uncontrollably, but I never opened my eyes again. My body grew colder. Xiaoquan understood. This time, his Empress was really leaving him, just as he was utterly despondent and about to follow me. A little white fox, out of nowhere, slipped in. It was the same white fox he'd seen in the Imperial Garden. It jumped onto the bed, walked around my body a few times, then turned its head, and looked at Xiaoquan with its obsidian-like eyes. It spat out a green bead, radiating a soft light, then pushed the bead toward him with its front paw. Xiaoquan was stunned. What is this? The little white fox barked twice, pointed at the bead with its paw, then pointed at my heart. Xiaoquan had a sudden insight, and instantly understood its meaning. With trembling hands, he picked up the green bead. The bead felt warm and smooth, carrying a vast life force. He didn't hesitate, carefully unbuttoned my clothes, and gently placed the bead on the wound over my heart. A miracle happened. As soon as the green bead touched my skin, it turned into a soft green light and merged into my body. A hint of color gradually returned to my pale face. My cold body also began to warm up. Though I hadn't woken yet, my life force was slowly recovering. Xiaoquan wept with joy. He hugged the little white fox and gave it a big kiss. Thank you. Thank you. The little white fox seemed a bit disgusted, wiped its face with its paw, then jumped off the bed and quickly disappeared. Xiaoquan knew it was one of my kin from the Qingqiu Fox clan, helping us in secret. He took my hand again. This time, my hand was no longer cold. He pressed my hand against his cheek. Tears fell again. This time, tears of joy. Half a month later, the army returned in triumph. The Northern Yen demon Wuxin was slain. The Northern Yen king was terrified and sent a surrender letter that very night, pledging eternal submission, vowing never to invade again. The emperor's personal campaign ended with a resounding victory. The whole nation celebrated, but Xiaoquan's main concern was still me, unconscious. Back in the capital, he held no victory banquet and directly sent me back to Cunning Palace, ordering all imperial doctors to take turns watching over me. He also issued a gag order about that battle, publicly claiming that the national guardian, Xianlingzi, worked with him from within, and used supreme Taoist arts to kill the demon. As for the Empress, she was praying in the rear, and fell into a coma from overexertion. He didn't want my nine-tailed fox identity to become a public spectacle. I was his wife. He had a duty to protect me. Xianlingzi had no objection. After that battle, he seemed to see through the mortal world, and submitted his resignation, saying he wanted to travel the world to seek the true Tao. He approved it. Days passed one by one. I still hadn't woken up, but my body, nourished by the Qingqiu treasure, the life creation bead, recovered well. My complexion was rosy. My breathing was steady, as if I were just asleep. Xiaoquan, aside from handling state affairs, spent all his time by my side. He told me funny stories from the court, read me folk tales, described the new vineyard villa he had built. A month later, on a sunny afternoon, Xiaoquan was sitting by the bed, peeling an apple for me. He suddenly felt the hand he was holding twitch slightly. His movements froze instantly. He looked up sharply at the person on the bed, and saw the eyes he had been dreaming of slowly opening. My gaze was a bit dazed. After seeing him clearly, it slowly focused. Your Majesty. I'm here. I'm here. I looked at him, my eyes slowly reddening. I reached out and gently touched his cheek, feeling the stubble on his chin and the fine lines around his eyes. You've lost weight. He couldn't hold back anymore and pulled me tightly into his arms, as if to meld me into his very bones. Welcome back, my Empress. After a long while, we parted. I leaned against the headboard. My 9 tails quietly emerged behind me, wrapping around the two of us. I looked at him and suddenly smiled slyly. Your Majesty, while I was unconscious, I think I heard someone say I could use the dragon throne as a cushion. You misheard. I also heard someone say they hadn't had enough of petting my tails. The wind was too loud. I didn't hear clearly. I laughed like a fox that had stolen a chicken. I took his hand and placed it on one of my tails. So, how about I let you pet them all you want now? Sunlight streamed through the window, shining on us, warm and peaceful. Xiao Quan looked at the smile and deep lop in my eyes. His heart softened. He knew his Empress seemed like a demoness, but she was the one he would cherish forever.